people in my community are service industry individuals. You all like your coffee hot in the morning along with your biscuits. We have no before school care. We have no after school care. These are the people who show up at your baby's school to make sure the bathrooms are clean. They're making sure your mother at the hospital is
Real.
clean at the nursing home.
Real.
And they are working hard every day to make it. But there is no care about them and how their families are going to make it, how their kids are getting to school.
Real.
We have no bus transportation, and they're having to make decisions on whether or not they're going to send their child to school in an Uber.
Hey everyone, welcome to Set in Stone, where we set in stone the foundational principles of all things politics and social justice related. As you know, we are doing our The South Got Something to Say series, where the South has a lot to say in regards to how we organize our communities and what's really happening in the South. And so today I have the absolute honor of having Oniyemi Williams with us today. And before we get started, I'm going to read her bio, and I'm so excited because we are about to talk for real. Okay, so Oniyemi Williams is the executive director of Live Free Alabama and the founder. Formerly, she was the deputy director of Faith in Action Alabama, where she managed the organizing efforts of 15 organizing teams located throughout Alabama with a volunteer base of over 10,000 and led the development of strategic campaigns for the organization's statewide campaigns. She was a part of the Faith in Action National Training Team and Live Free National Team. Oniyemi is known throughout the country as the leading voice from Alabama about the social detriments of health for communities of color plagued by gun violence and institutional violence. While as an organizer for the Peacemaker Campaign, which is a community-centered safety campaign, Oniyemi and her team secured $5.2 million in local funding for a community-based anti-gun violence program in Birmingham, Alabama. And this program launched weekly night walks led by clergy in high-crime areas, created victim response teams to support victims of families of homicide victims that resulted in change in Alabama law in 2022, and $2.5 million in additional funding to support victims of violence in 2023. That team has established community roundtable collaboratives for gun violence programs throughout Alabama. Most recently, she secured funding for a hospital violence interruption program in Mobile, Alabama, and a street outreach program in Montgomery, Alabama. Oniyemi is a native of Pensacola, Florida, and a former law enforcement officer with the state of Florida. Oniyemi is a graduate of Southern Illinois University, Pat Thomas School of Law Enforcement, and did her graduate studies at Troy University. She is a 2023-2024 Movement Leader Fellow of the Colin Powell School for Civil and Global Leadership at City College of New York, a 2023 Black Future Labs Fellow, and a 2023 Southern Black Women Collaborative Inaugural Fellow, by which the Alabama Southern Black Women Collaborative was developed and is a part of the 2025-2026 University of Chicago Crime Lab Fellows. Wow, that was a lot. A lot of experience.
And a lot of just trying some stuff to see if it was sick.
You so funny. I'm so excited to have you today.
I'm glad to be here.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to start at the beginning. Okay.
Okay.
And the first question is, I want to know, like, how you got started. So I read, obviously, you were law enforcement, but something happened before then.
Yeah, I was born.
Okay.
Okay. You know, I was always the kid growing up that was fighting for justice. Even if it was in my own home. I was fighting for justice. If I thought things weren't right, I came from the old school where your mama and daddy were, it was just like that.
Okay.
And everybody else be like, but I was okay with the ramifications of being in an effort to make sure that what I knew was right was heard.
Yeah.
And understanding, and that built me. it built me into a person that if I ain't feel my mama and daddy around or my family members that could clump me, I ain't got too much feel for, now that I'm grown,
Yeah.
I ain't got too much feel for nobody that threatens me with, I'm going to take. Oh, okay. If I wasn't scared at 6, you think I'm going to be scared at this big grown age? I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what happened. Even when I was in law enforcement, even when I was in a position that in many circles are seen as positions of oppression, I was known as the person that was always fighting for her cases.
Yeah.
I was always understanding the loopholes and understanding and making sure my people weren't taken advantage of. Taking that, I didn't see them as, because I ended up in probation and parole when it was all said and done. And even in that position, I was a drug officer. It was known that my cases would be crying when they got pulled off my caseload or when they transferred me somewhere. And it wasn't because I was doing anything illegal. It was because I understood the situations that they found themselves in that led them down the roads they went down.
Yeah.
And so seeing them as human and not allowing systems to take advantage of them, I was always fighting. One of the things that I did as an officer was I led the team that in the state of Florida that allowed inmates that were being released to use their prison ID in order for them to get a driver's license.
Yeah.
Because the argument was, if we're a government agency, we've already validated who these people were before we took them into incarceration.
Yeah.
Again, understanding what they faced when they came out. Oftentimes, their IDs and all of their pertinent information had been lost during their incarceration. So Social Security won't give you a Social Security card without you having valid ID. Valid ID won't give you an ID because you ain't got no birth certificate. Birth certificate folks don't want to give you a birth certificate because you ain't got no Social Security card. And so now you have these people
Cycle.
in a cycle. So how do we break cycles? And so I was always known for, I wasn't always the favorite officer around folks inside of the institutions. But folks that were in the streets and on the other side, I was their girl.
Yeah, I love that. Wow. I'm so glad you talked about just like the inner workings of being a law enforcement officer, because I kind of want to segue into that, and you've already like shed light into what you did. How often were you met with just like opposition from folks inside the institution for wanting to like stand up for people who really didn't have a voice?
All the time. Because I was a drug officer supervising drug cases, it was known around town to local police force, the drug task force. If the case was mine, you might as well hang it up. I'm not giving you a leg up on none of my cases. I'm not letting you search without a warrant. If you think you got enough on them, go to the court. Because I had a problem with when I saw officers that were making the same kind of money I was making, living in $500,000 houses, and nobody was questioning how these folks were supporting these lifestyles.
Yeah.
I had a problem when my cases were having conversation with me once they became comfortable. And they would be like, I had $1 million in my stash house, but when I read the report only showed $450,000.
Wow.
I have a problem when I did the pre-sentencing investigation over the lady who was in charge of the evidence room for 37 years as a police department. And in 1 year, because there was a shakeup in the sheriff's race, in 1 year, it was documented she stole $2 million at the evidence room.
Wow.
And finding out once I did my investigation that, the sheriff's office didn't even do a forensic audit of that evidence room.
Wow.
Until 2010, 2015, all of this stuff. And you said 32 years. And when I talked to the bank, they were talking about, she was known to come in here every week with $50,000, $60,000 worth of cash and deposits.
And nobody said nothing?
Oh, no, nobody said nothing because it was in that community, because of the color of the skin, who they were associated with, it was allowable. And in her own conversation with me, she said, I wasn't the only person stealing. Everybody was. They were stealing money and they were stealing the drugs. And then when I had my cases come to me and say, I was getting these drugs from these officers, and I got tired of them.
Wow.
Nobody wants to talk about it. People try to keep it hidden. But the facts of the reality is justice ain't never been just for certain communities.
Yeah, that's real. So another question I have off of that is, when you first got started, did you get like a lot of, opposition from the community? Did they call you names like sellout, coon, all the different types of names that are like associated for particularly like Black people that want to be in law enforcement or military, like whatever?
No, a lot of people were shocked. Because when I was younger, I was known in certain crowds. I'm a kid of the 90s. I was a hot girl with them hot boys. We was riding them donks. My boyfriend in high school, my boyfriend had that candy apple red lack with the white rag top. We had all cocaine white interiors with the shoes and bows with the bass in the back. And all my homegirls, old men used to pull up and make the other girls take a step back.
So you was that girl.
Me and my girls, we
was
that
girl. Yeah,
and
was girls.
I'm the only one, if I tell the truth about the story, I was the only one out of my friend group that did not go to prison.
Oh, my.
Shout out to Ursula. May she rest in peace. She had to go do that prison time.
Wow.
Shout out to my homeboy, Mike. The only reason he got out of prison was President Obama commuted his sentence. He had a life prison sentence for drug trafficking, nonviolent offender.
Yeah.
And he was a federal indictment. I have friends that he wasn't the only one. I can go through the list of the ones that found themselves incarcerated, and to be quite honest, we never thought they would ever be free.
Yeah.
So for me, and when certain people found out I was an officer, they didn't believe it. Like, my superiors in the state had to go back and do a double background check on me because people made allegations that I had been arrested. And they were like, no, this girl has never been arrested. But I will also say that your community can also see your gifts.
Yeah.
Even before you recognize them.
Yeah.
And so I remember one of the homeboys, they were getting ready to go out and party and whatever. And I wanted to go. And he was like, you can't go. And I was like, why? And he looked at me and he was like, because we need you when we gone. Because you're going to be the one that has to educate our kids, and you're going to be the one that, and so this ain't for you. When we come back, we'll all kick it. But certain places and things, they did not allow me to go. They did not allow me to be involved with, and they protected me. So again, shout out to all of them.
Yeah.
That saw my value before I even understood my value.
Yeah, that's real. Now that I love that because when in that moment, I'm sure you felt slighted. You was like, "Well, I want to go with y'all. What you talk about?" But like, at what point? I guess, yeah. At what point did you say, "Oh my gosh, they were right"? Like, when did you recognize like they did see that? That is who I am. Was it after law enforcement? Was it during law enforcement? Was it how far? What was that?
It was
That time.
during.
Yeah.
Like, some of them would get released and they would end up on my caseloads, or folks that was in the community, they would end up and they'd be like, I know you, yeah, what's up?
Yeah.
And let me say something about my community and my attitude towards my community, even though I was in that particular role. It was my community that saved me when the badge turned on me.
Mm. Mm.
Because people don't like to talk about behind the blue curtain, but behind the blue curtain is only applicable if you're a certain color.
Yeah.
It only goes so far.
Mm-hmm.
And like one of my older colleagues told me, we will be invited to the country club, but we'll never have membership. Govern yourself accordingly, young blood.
Mm. That's real.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be invited, but you better know where you at.
You can be invited. You can be there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They might fully know who you are, but when shit hit the fan,
Absolutely.
you ain't got membership, baby.
Nope.
And so, understanding that, it took me a long way in that career. And so, when I did get into a situation where it was a very affluent case from a family of money, and I came with the whole situation of what had occurred, because it was a murder case. The badge turned on me. They attacked me over him, but it was the community that said, nah, we ain't gonna let this ride, because the streets were still the streets, and I acknowledged the streets. They respected me, I respected them.
Yeah.
They knew that I protected them when certain people were trying to do certain things, because I wouldn't go along with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I got to see just how unjust the justice system was.
Yeah. Well, that like perfectly segue into like my next question, which is pretty much when you left law enforcement, where did your journey begin then?
So, I was still an officer. I got transferred from one part of the state to another part of the state. I got transferred to Clan Country, where my superiors would get letters that would say, next time you send an officer out to this community, make sure they were found in the rainbow. Okay?
Found in the rainbow? What that mean? It's colors in the rainbow. I'm not sure what that means.
But black ain't in the rainbow.
Oh, gosh. She said you can send any other color. But, wow.
That was, right. That was Klan talk. I didn't know what it was.
Wow. I've never heard that before.
Right. And somebody had to pull me aside.
So next time, you could say that one more time?
Next time you send somebody out into the community, make sure they can be found in the rainbow. And I was like, now show you my naivete of the situation when the letter came. I said, I don't have no problem with LGBTQ. I get along with the folks.
Right, like what?
And I was like, and they was like, no. That's coded language.
That's crazy. What this means.
I didn't know what tree monkeys were. I saw signs that said no tree monkeys allowed.
And you thought they were just monkeys? Like
I didn't
animals.
know.
Yeah. I
did not know.
I would have thought that too.
I didn't know.
I'd have been like, oh, this community, y'all have wild monkeys here? Like, I didn't know. Like,
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know some of the things that I was seeing. I didn't understand why I was put in that space until I understood why I was put into that space. Because, see, down there, it wasn't enough black folks.
Yep.
They didn't like you if you was a black person in that space, you were some type of professional. Hispanics and immigrants and migrant workers were a bigger part of the population than black folks. We were only about 3 to 4% of the population.
Oh, wow.
And so what that gave me was an opportunity to see the caste system and classism.
Yeah. Firsthand. Wow, in a position
These
that's
United States of America.
Yeah. And supposedly being a police officer is supposed to be like the highest law, and you were still being treated. Yeah, officer. Still being treated within. Yeah,
I've been treated. Most people who meet me or see me, they think I have no understanding of the law. I've been in situations where I've been taking people into custody, and my cases had to stand between me and the officers who were coming to do the transport because they didn't realize I was the officer and they were the case.
Yikes.
Like literally,
yikes.
I had a case that had to jump between the officer because the officer, I didn't know what was going on. I just heard him screaming, "Put your hands behind your back. If you don't do it, don't make me taser you. Don't resist." And I'm sitting up there looking, trying to see what she was doing. Her hands, she had on handcuffs. What is he screaming at that I'm missing?
Yeah.
And just as he was about to grab me, she jumped in front of me and said, "She's the officer.
Wow.
And she was a white woman.
Wow.
And she was like, "Ms. Williams, you've always been good to me." And I said that when you came, I knew you had a warrant on me, you was doing your job or whatever, that I wouldn't fight you. And me and her was standing out there talking.
Yeah.
But in his mind, I couldn't have possibly been the officer.
Crazy.
I can't take off what I was gift wrapped in.
Literally.
And so I always say to people, you can say whatever you want. I don't care how upstanding you are. I don't care how much you know the processes.
Yeah. They still gonna.
However you were gift wrapped, it's gonna be an issue for some folks.
Yep. Okay. My next question is about the work that you're doing with the Alabama Black Women's Collaborative and the survey around the justice system. Can you talk about that?
Sure. So, what we know is most times there is not a collective way for people of color to have their voices heard and documented. People of color, we have our points of view around any subject matter you can put in front of us. But we are often left out of the documentation of our thought processes. And so me and some other beautiful women that are about that life in Alabama, we decided in gratitude to those who had funded our fellowship that we would produce something. And so that's how we came up with doing the survey, to be able to give something back around what it means to organize, what it means to have opportunity, and what it means to be selected from the community to represent the community in such a prolific way.
Yeah, I love that. Can you talk about more in depth of the survey?
So what we did, the fourth quarter of 2023, we set out on a journey to listen to Black folks across the state of Alabama. It was a sum total of 4 of us. And in that one that 3-month period, we collected around 2,000 surveys from people across Alabama. And what we did was we engaged people of color during periods of Black joy.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, people want to talk to Black folks when we're oppressed, when we're struggling, when we don't have the clearness of thought to even have a conversation.
Yeah.
And so we made a decision, we're going to talk to our people when they're in a good mood.
Yeah.
When they may be more open to sharing what it is that's on their heart, what's on their mind, and what they're seeing. And so we went to every homecoming, every classic, every church conference, every, all week, every weekend we were there talking to our people, and all of these conversations were done in person.
Yeah.
And so people were amazed at what we were able to produce, but our paper, we released a white page in mid-quarter of 2024 of our results. And so it gave us an opportunity to show people that people of color in the South have opinions. We're not a monolith. We have thought processes. We're talking about things. We're watching things. And if you come to us and talk to us at an appropriate time, then we're happy to share how we really feel.
Yeah.
But everybody can't do that. One of the things we made sure of is that none of the information that we collected was sold.
Yeah.
All of the information is used to help uplift our community and help us to understand what it is we need to be doing in community to move the needle.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about your work with Faith in Action Alabama a little bit.
Sure.
Can you talk about, I personally, when I first came in contact with Faith in Action 2018, I really loved that because I did not see organizations doing that. Particularly, like, I grew up in the church, and I grew up in a white church, and I went to like a white private school, all these things. And a lot of things that I saw that my white counterparts did not, like, steered away from was justice, period. And so one of the things I used to always get into arguments with them about is, like, y'all claim to love the Lord, but, like, y'all are hurting Black and brown people. Y'all voting for people that are trying to harm them. Y'all not really about it, you know? And so when I came in contact with Faith in Action, I felt so, like, seen, because I was like, wow, there are people of faith who believe what I believe, and parts of, like, seeking justice is, like, being a part of, like, what we're supposed to do. And so I just, point blank period, just have always had love for Faith in Action. But I mean, we didn't meet till later on down the road. But I want to know more about the work that you did with Faith in Action during your time there.
So during my time there, I came to Faith in Action right after I moved to Alabama. The funny story is, my sister called, my kids had come just following my divorce and everything, and me and the kids were living in Central Florida. My sister called me one day. The kids had came and spent the summer in Birmingham that year. My sister called me one day and she said, you should consider moving to Alabama so you would have more support with the kids. And I was like, I don't know. She was like, but if you come, you cannot go back in law enforcement.
Yikes. Was that a thought for you, going back to law enforcement if you did move to Alabama?
I didn't think about it.
Okay,
I knew I could get hired here because my credentials were good.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, okay, bet. And so about a week later, she calls me again. And she was like, have you been looking for a job? And so me being a person of my word, I was like, I'm looking for a job right now. And I had an application open for an insurance company. A healthcare insurance company. Now, I don't know nothing about no healthcare. Believe it or not, the organization hired me, and within a week, me and my children were moving.
Oh, wow.
I tenured my resignation to the state of Florida.
Wow.
We ended up in Alabama.
Wow.
So, I have things for myself based off of my own self-experiences. I say, well, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this or whatever. And I was like, as a single parent now, I want to be available to my kids and blah, 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 blah. You know, kind of that leave it to beaver kind of thought process of an experience for your kids that you can take them to school, you can pick
Yeah.
them up, and, you know, but not having that support.
Yeah.
And so I knew I still had to work, and that particular job afforded me that. Was I making maximal benefit based off of my skill set? No, but I thought the value was in being available for my kids, even though they turned out to be Ninja Turtles. But we'll talk about that at a different day. I got a Ninja Turtle and a Thundercat. It'll be okay.
Oh, God.
So, hey, you can't pick how your children gonna turn out.
You can't.
You're right. You know, you just be trying some stuff.
Ninja Turtle is crazy. Oh,
and so, but I love them. They both mine.
yeah.
And so I decided, you know, based on everything I had experienced, I was like, okay, when I buy a house, I don't want a mortgage. I want to buy something I can afford on my own. So, only thing that I could afford was located in a moderate to low income community. And so I saved up my money, pulled my coins together, and I purchased a home. Well, my sister and them lived. My sister has lived in Helena for over 30 years. I remember when she first built her house, we all used to get a personal escort home by the police department.
Oh, wow.
Verifying that we were supposed to be out there.
So she's in like deep in the woods.
No, she's not. But when they first built in the 90s.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We used to get a personal escort home.
Yeah.
Because soon as they saw us, they would follow us and wait to see the garage doors open up.
Yeah.
And us pull the cars in and close them back down.
Right.
And that went on for years.
Yeah. Wow.
And so that's where me and my kids moved to for a minute. And then, you know, the bus picked up at every doorstep. And, you know, even though we were in walking distance to the school, we still got bus service. And, you know, it would be a little tension if you weren't outside on the stoop when the bus came and all of this kind of stuff. So when I pulled my money together and it was time for us to move, let me back up. I've always lived in moderate to high income communities. Okay. So I moved to a moderate to low income community. That's where the house was that I purchased, and me and the kids, I went to register my kids for school. That was hectic. Because the lady at the school board was telling me she couldn't register me with the documents I had provided. That was a red flag there, because she said I had to have my rental paperwork. I had provided her with a copy of my deed. She said, ma'am, this deed is from over a year ago. You have to update every year. Ma'am, that was a red flag, ma'am. They do not give you a new deed every year.
Right? What is that?
You get one deed.
You get one deed, and that's it. I didn't know they had deed renewal services. Okay.
So then I went on after that frustrating conversation, and her superiors finally told her that she could accept my deed as proof of residency. I went to ask about busing. Get the bus schedule. And they informed me that because I live 2.9 miles from the school, my kids would have to walk. Anything under 3 miles is the only way you get bus service. And so I lamented with them that my kids have to cross a highway. There's no sidewalks. How these kids supposed to get to school with? That's not our problem, that's yours. Mind you, I had just left a community where the bus stopped in front of every house.
Wow.
And we only lived 1.5 miles from the school. Again, because I had the job I had. I told my job, hey, I'm going to the house to work. They said, bet.
Mm.
I started working from home way before the pandemic.
Mm.
That was a luxury.
Yeah.
So soon I became the neighbor that transported most of the kids in my neighborhood to school.
Oh, wow.
I was also the neighbor that parents called when their kids got sick, into a fight, that the school, they didn't even check my ID. The parents would just say, oh, Ms. Ani coming up there. And I would go up to the school, get the kid. And that was because most of my neighbors were working in moderate to low income jobs.
Mm-hmm.
They were in the service industry. Mm-hmm. And it meant if they took time off their job, they lost time out of their pay.
Yeah.
Whereas I had the luxury of I could get up, walk away from my desk at the house, run up to the school, come on back home.
Yeah.
You know, why was I driving kids to school every day? Because this is the thing. We had no before day care, no before school care, no after school care.
Mm. Wow.
When it's raining outside, how don't kids supposed to get to school in the rain? Kids were getting hit and killed trying to get to the school. The hot boys in the community, the dope man in the community was like, yo, such and so wasn't at the drop-off place for those who did receive bus service because they didn't drop them off at their home. They had one bus stop for all the kids in the community had to show up. And then the bus, you could get on the bus. Well, you talking about a kindergarten.
A baby
having to walk a mile home. Well, if his mother in the service industry, she was a housekeeper. She couldn't leave until all of her rooms were clean. They still put them babies off the bus.
Yeah.
One of my dope boys, he was like, yo, I saw baby mama hadn't got there, so, I followed the baby home. I didn't put the baby in my car because I ain't want nobody to say I was doing nothing.
Yeah.
But I did follow him home to make sure he got home.
Right.
But in the other community, if I wasn't standing on my doorstep when that bus came, it was a problem.
Mm.
What I'm saying is that I got involved with Faith in Action because I saw just how huge the disparities were.
Mm. Yeah.
Between the communities. The haves and the have-not.
That's literally, yes, literally.
And when I would tell people this, they would be like, it can't be like that, especially successful people of color.
Mm.
I always say to people, it's not enough for them to be wrapped in this luscious mocha color.
Mm.
Because just because you in it, don't mean you have experienced it from the angle other people are experiencing it from.
Yes.
It wasn't until I moved inside of that community that I understood the struggles.
Yep.
It wasn't that their kids were truant because they didn't want their babies to go to school, but they were truant because they had to make a decision about, am I going to keep the lights on at the house? Yep. Or am I going to make them stay at home because it's pouring down raining outside?
Yep.
And if I send them in the rain, they're going to be sick.
Yep.
Can we afford to have the lights turned off in the wintertime?
Yep.
Or can I afford for them to stay home?
Yep.
They having to make decisions.
Real life decisions that other people don't even know.
You don't even think
about. Even with kids, like, when you bringing that up, brought me back to high school. So in high school, I transitioned to public school, and it was kids in my class who literally had to decide to help their mom pay the bills if they were going to go to work or come to school that day. But they got wrote up for truancy, and it was so messed up because, like, the system doesn't recognize that. They're like, oh, it's still no excuse. But it's like, okay, what are you doing to help people pay their bills? They're having to decide to live or to show up to school and have the time. Let's be real. Where the school I went to, Half them teachers weren't even teaching.
Correct. I've been in rooms with, I was in, my people organized, and there we found out about a meeting that was happening with DOJ and some top alphabet organizations, and my people, basically shut down the city phone lines because they wanted representation in the room at that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So I got into the room at the meeting, and one of the topics that came up based off of the truancy issue in Birmingham was somebody thought it was a good idea. They were throwing it around to start attaching students' truancy to parents' HUD vouchers and their ability to live in public housing.
What?
So I'm sitting in the room and I'm looking at all of these mocha wrapped individuals around the table with me.
I like that term, mocha rap. I like that. I'm using it. Mocha rap individuals. Remember that.
Around the table who are leading these different organizations and everything. And I'm listening to them let folks talk.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting on them to say something in defense. So when nobody said that, I finally raised my head. I saw city officials become uncomfortable. And what I said was, the people in my community are service industry individuals. You all like your coffee hot in the morning along with your biscuits. We have no before-school care. We have no after-school care.
Yikes.
These are the people who show up at your baby's school to make sure the bathrooms are clean. They're making sure your mother at the hospital is clean at the nursing home.
Real.
And they are working hard every day to make it.
Real.
But there is no care about them and how their families are going to make it, how their kids are getting to school.
Real.
We have no bus transportation, and they're having to make decisions on whether or not they're going to send their child to school in an Uber.
Real.
Or if they're going to take the chance of their child walking to school and getting sick. There's no bus transportation. The kids are having to jump the train that's on the tracks in order to get to school every day because the trains come in part and stay 2 or 3 days.
Wow.
And if they go the walk around where they don't, it takes them 2 miles out the way.
Right.
They're locked into the community. What? All the kids get bus transportation. No, they don't.
No, wait a minute. That based off what you just said, they still assumed all the kids get bus transportation.
Right. And nobody at the table that looked like me was saying anything.
So nobody else was like.
So the following month, when they reconvened the meeting and I'm sitting in there, one of the top brass of DOJ walked up to me and said, "We looked into what you said, and we had no idea what you said was absolutely correct."
I want to know how, though. Like, and I'm not trying to sound like privileged in my thinking, but I'm like, how do you not understand? Like, to me, that's just
because in their neighborhood, where my sister lives, the bus stops in front of every house. And the people that were mocha rap sitting at their table had reached that level of success, so the bus is also stopping in front of their house.
Okay, but they act like they ain't know somebody, or at least close proximity to that being.
They're not.
That's so irritating.
They're not. We think that because they're mocha rap, they are in close proximity to the hurt and the pain of people that are impoverished and oppressed.
Yeah.
They're not.
That is what I think, because they're mocha rap, they would have some kind of closeness to knowing someone.
My sister didn't know nobody until me.
Yeah.
She didn't know nobody.
Yeah.
Until me.
Yeah.
And she had lived here at that time over 25 years. Why? Because her life was in Helena. Her life wasn't inside of Birmingham City. And all of her friends were of the same social economic status or better.
Yeah.
And so their experiences were that. Again, you heard me say, we always grew up moderate to high income. And so that's why it's so insanely important to be able to codify the experiences of those who are actually experiencing it.
Yeah.
And hear what they have to say. Because me and my sister, growing up as kids, we went to the library 2 or 3 times a week. So me and her was in a conversation one day, and I said, she's talking about, what are you fussing about? I said, the heat and AC at my library in my neighborhood has been out for over 4 years. And most of the students, that's where they were using their internet because they didn't have internet at home. And my library, where I live, is anchored by 2 housing developments within 3 blocks of it. Our summer reading program only had $150 in it.
Right. Let me.
Why? Because our library don't have no benefactors that's giving money. We don't have patrons of the library. And what we found out was that the additional programming that goes into libraries are based off of the patrons that are giving money to support those programs. Well, we ain't have nobody.
Wow.
So my sister said that can't be. I said, well, come on down. Let's go over here and I'm going to let you talk to the librarian. And the librarian was like, yeah, that's true. They didn't even have a popcorn machine. They used to have to go to a library in another community and get them to pop popcorn for them so they could take back to their library for the kids that were coming to hang out at the library.
That's crazy.
Well, we fundraised. My sister and her friends, they fundraised, and now shout out to them. That library has their own popcorn machine. They have additional iPads that team bought to go in there for those students. We figured out how to get the AC units and heat fixed in that library.
Wow.
See, it's not enough to be successful for you.
Yeah, you got to be for everybody.
You got to be thinking about those folks that still need a way out.
Absolutely.
It's kind of like Harriet Tubman. It wasn't enough for her to be free.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's crazy. 4 years, no AC and nothing in the library.
And so during the summer, they would have to shut down because it would be so hot.
That's where the kids gonna go. Like you, I grew up in the library. Like we went to the library all the time growing up. Like that was like the safe space. To this day, I love a library. You gonna catch me at a library before you catch me at a coffee shop. Like, so just to know that like it was a library in this area that was went 4 years. 4 years.
And city officials would come in there and be like, ooh, it's hot up in here.
Nobody had any questions about why is it hot in here? Not, ooh, it's hot in here.
That's it.
Okay. Okay, next question.
Sure,
We're gonna segue. We're gonna segue into. Apparel can be a powerful tool for making changes in the world. Individuals can raise awareness and inspire action by choosing to wear clothing or carry products that promote a particular message or cause. When you buy our apparel, you are not just purchasing a piece of clothing, but investing in a positive change. Our brand is committed to making a difference, and we believe that fashion can be a force for good. By making conscious choices about what we wear, we can use our clothing to express our values and advocate for positive change. So why not make a change for the better and choose our apparel? By doing so, you are not only making a fashion statement, but you are also making a statement about what you stand for. Join us in our mission to create a better world through fashion. Policy and Change Notebook. Thoughts and prayers are all right, but what we really need is policy and change. This 118-page spiral notebook is dedicated to developing actionable solutions and driving real impact, focusing on meaningful reforms and transformative initiatives. Follow Black Women Tote Bag. Carry change with you wherever you go with our Follow Black Women Cotton Canvas Tote Bag. Made from durable, eco-friendly cotton canvas, this spacious tote is perfect for your daily essentials. Featuring sturdy handles and a powerful message, it's not just a bag, it's a statement of commitment to justice and equality. Join the movement and make a difference, one step at a time. A conversation we had about 2 weeks ago when we saw each other.
Okay.
About what we as people needed to be doing to prepare for the next 4 years in building community and getting into community. So my question is, what does that look like for someone who's not involved in this work?
So first of all, we have to help people understand what they're experiencing right now.
Mm-hmm.
I got mocha wrapped, I got vanilla wrapped, I got hazelnut, I got everybody. Everybody's up in a tizzy right now, based off of what they have been experienced in during this dispensation of time from a governmental standpoint. And so it dawned on me, what is this? It's psychological warfare. They have waged psychological warfare against the people of the United States. Well, if you look up the word psychological warfare, what does that mean? It means to mentally reduce the morale of your opponent.
Yeah.
To put them in an oppressive state. So with all of these executive orders, all of this stuff coming out in the media, all of these things taking place, it is impacting people mentally to think that there's nothing they can do, that they are a conquered people before they've even been conquered.
Yeah, way before. Yeah.
Right. And so first thing we have to do is help people understand what they are experiencing. It's psychological warfare. So now we know what it is. It's time for us to hurry up and slow down. So that we can build strategically a plan of action to organize our people, to understand the policies and bills and what are actually policies and bills and what is just stuff that are attacks or missiles to blow up our mental astuteness to be able to keep moving. In this time, it's more now than ever. We need to be knocking on our neighbors' doors and understanding who's in our community and having a conversation of compassion with them. To say, hey, we're in this together. We're going to be okay. And that we're having real, genuine building conversations. That me and you together can keep this block clean. That me, you, and the neighbor across the street can watch out for the kids in the neighborhood. That me, you, the neighbor across the street, and the neighbor on the other side of them, all of us together, we can make sure everybody on the block eat. That me, you, and the neighbor across the street, and the neighbor next door, along with Jimmy Joe, who's drunk.
But that's real. That's a real scenario.
Okay?
Yeah.
That if all of us pull together, we can make sure that everybody on this block is all right and got the proper information. It's about us hurrying up and slowing down to say, despite all of this stuff that is being fed to us, we ain't consuming all of this junk.
I know.
That we are powerful people. That we have the ability to push back. That our moral compasses aren't so corrupt. that we're just going to look the other way.
Yes, that our moral compass is not so corrupt. Yes.
As immoral things are done to people in our community. What does that look like? The other day, I was in the house with my grandkids. We went in the back of the house. I didn't hear the doorbell. Mm-hmm. I didn't hear nothing. We back there, we chilling. I didn't even have my phone in the room where I was at. The next day, later that night, I picked up my phone. I looked, I had missed calls from my next door neighbor. So I called her back. She said, we were trying to call you. I said, what's up? What was wrong? She said, some men were in the alley. My son saw some men in the alley trying to get in your back gate. Because in the back gate, my sister's truck is parked in my back carport, and my motorcycles are under the carport in the back of my house. And my son asked them what they wanted. And they was like, oh, we're here to get the stuff at this car and stuff from back here. They told us to pick it up. And they said, nah, you ain't going to pick it up through the alley. She's at home because we see her car. You need to go to her front door.
Right. Okay.
Ring her doorbell. And if she don't come out and let you through the gate, you don't get nothing from back there.
Wow.
So I called my sister. Yo, you sent somebody to pick up your truck? She said, nah. My neighbor said that when the guy saw him get in his car and pull off, they immediately pulled off too. They didn't even wait for me to come to the door. And he circled back around and they were gone. Why do I bring that story up? Because my neighbors know me.
Yeah.
We're in relationship.
Yeah.
They see anything that ain't moving or shaking right. Hey, excuse me, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the type of care we got to have for our neighbors in these times.
Yeah.
That means that if we're somewhere and they giving out bananas, excuse me, can I have 2 bunches of bananas? That means our brothers and sisters that are highlighted as being under attack for their immigration status. And the reason why I say highlighted, there are people with similar immigration status that they're doing a number on because they're mocha wrapped.
Yeah.
And nobody's talking about them.
Yeah.
Because they are being hit heavy and they're being hit hard.
Yep.
And there's no conversation about them.
Right. Right. Right.
The immigration raids are not just in the Hispanic communities.
Nope.
They're going into the African communities.
Yep.
They're going into the Indian communities.
Yep.
They're going into all of these beautiful essence of people that do not fit into the circle sum of being worthy of freedom.
Yeah.
Can you pick them up some bananas? Can you get that extra loaf of bread?
Yeah.
To limit how much exposure they're having?
Yeah.
Can you understand where they are in the neighborhood so you can keep an eye out?
Right.
If you see unnormal folks circling the blocks of your neighborhood.
Yeah.
To give them a heads up, yo. We got to look out for each other.
Yeah, we do.
And we got to understand that our power is in our ability to hurry up and slow down and build a strategy and a plan that we actually work. And that is inclusive. of even those who made the decision and that were misguided into believing that this is what they wanted.
I like that was so put together so nicely. Who were misguided into believing. What did you say? Misguided into believing
that this is what they
this
wanted.
is what they wanted. I love that.
Everybody's been misguided in this life. My generation was misguided into believing that that crack was the way to come out of their situations. Not understanding the harm that they did to their communities.
Yeah.
We were misguided. We didn't understand until we got into it. And they got life prison sentences.
Yeah.
Misguided.
Yeah.
They're out now, living productive and healthy lives. It's okay. I've done a lot of misguided stuff. It wasn't until I got on the other side of it that I understood what it was.
Yeah.
And so people showing me grace. People allowing me to come back to them and yet be in community.
Yeah.
It's important that we create that for them as well.
Yeah. Wow. I love that answer. I love that answer because it was so simple. And I think people, when you have people who aren't in this work and they're like panicking and all these things and they want to like do all these things, but it's just like it could just be as simple as asking your neighbor, what do you need? Y'all getting it together, formulating a plan on how to take care of each other, and boom, you know? So I really love that answer.
We got to help people understand we got to hurry up and slow down. We got to watch what's going on. But who else do we need to be watching?
Yep.
Are we being strategic enough to say, okay. It was the senator that came out and told the federal employees, do not sign that letter of resignation. They don't have the power. We have collective bargaining agreements written into your contracts that under law, they cannot.
Do that.
But if I put you in a position of fear and panic, psychologically, you will sign off on something.
Yeah.
Because I got you panicked.
Yep.
That if you were in a more relaxed state and you had time to read, consult, and think your way through, you would have never done.
Yeah.
It's kind of like we and all watched those before they became famous or one-hit wonders, and you hear the stars talk about they signed this bad contract because they were just so excited.
Yeah.
That somebody wanted them. And then they were broke and penniless.
Yep.
Because the contract gave all the money to them. Same thing now.
Yeah.
Hey, girl.
Yeah, that's real. Well, I wish we could talk more because I know you have so much wisdom and so many stories.
I don't know if it's wisdom.
It is wisdom. I feel like we didn't even get to like the meat of who you like. Just all the wisdom you have. Like I've learned so much from you in the minimal time of like conversations we've had. So yeah, I appreciate you. Is there anything you want to say before we close out, or like how people can connect with you?
Well, I want to close out with saying that everybody has the power to lead the change of the revolution that we're in. that those who have been written down in the perils of time that changed the world and changed the universe were just ordinary people living their lives and understanding their moral compass required them to do more than what the status quo. They're also the individuals that, for most of their lives, were told they were crazy. And when you understand that you have been told that you're crazy, that means you can see something outside of the normal.
Yep.
That you have the ability to dream and have visions around what else can occur.
Yep.
That you're willing to break from what is traditionally expected from a person like you and do something different. Those are the people that were listed as saints and heroines and heroes and mythical gods and all of these people. They were the people that were deemed to be crazy.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is that it's okay. And even if your name is not on the headline of what it is that is happening, there were so many people that created situations and plans that only their mother, father, sisters, or brothers and the people in their neighborhood actually knew who they were.
Yep.
But I dare you to step out here into these streets and just understand that you are more than what they're talking about. You understand more than they think you know, and lift up your voice and fight.
Yes.
Do not go down quiet. Do not be a quiet victim. Be a victim that is willing to scream out, "You're hurting me."
Yep.
To get people's attention that these situations are not just isolated to them, that they're not the only ones that are being hurt, and encourage them to also lift their voice to identify that they are hurting as a result of the oppression that is trying to be placed upon their necks. Yeah. If we come together and lift our voices and use our collective power, we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
We'll stick to the plan and we'll move through this. Yeah. And if you don't believe that it can happen, I'm a Christian person, and I went to church. I'm the child of pastors.
Plural, too.
Yes. And so one of my favorite, and how do I organize? I always looked at the Bible and Christianity. First, I see Jesus as one of the most prolific organizers that there ever was.
Absolutely.
But I also love the story of Moses, because Moses is one of the biggest organizing stories that has ever been. He organized 600,000 people to bankrupt an entire country.
Yes.
And everybody's name was not listed in that Bible story, but it required all 600,000 of those people to get in one accord and take on the position they had to take.
Yep.
And each one of those individuals represented that's in that number represents, some were these ironsmiths, some was the housekeepers, some were the planters, some was the harvesters, some was the communication network, some was, because this was in the time before cell phones and text messages and Instagram. They had to get the word out to their people that we leave in here.
Yep. You preaching.
And so what I'm saying, with all of the technology that we have, we leave in this situation in a far better state than we were when we came into it. If we all just make a decision to stick to the plan and work together.
Yeah.
And though they may not ever remember my name in the heralds of time, my neighbors know me. And those are the people I did life with. And that's what's going to matter most.
Yeah.
So with that, if you want to find me, look for me on any corner. Hey, nah, but I am Oniyemi Williams, the executive director of Live Free Alabama. You can reach me at ONOYEMI at livefreeal.org.
Thank you. Tearing up. That was so beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was just, why do I do this? Every time I just makes me so emotional. That was so real.
I ain't got nothing else to give you because fake ain't never fit me.
That was so real. Well, thank you so much, Annie. And
you're welcome.
Thank you for coming on Set in Stone.
We'll see y'all.
We'll see y'all next time.